So I'm going to talk a little bit about the graduation process and what needs to be done, as well as the commencement process. Are most of you, are you kind of split masters and doctoral students, or who's master students? Okay, so we have kind of half and half. The first thing that you'll need to do if you are planning to graduate this spring, if you haven't already done it, is apply for graduation. You can do that on our website, gradschool.missouri.edu, and there's a little box in the right-hand corner that says graduation and commencement. So that is the very first step. Without that, we don't know that you plan to graduate, we don't know that you may show up to commencement, all of those things. Once you've applied for graduation, your information gets fed into our database where we record all the information that you put in, as well as the results of our file evaluations. So if you've applied for graduation and we're missing a form, or you have an incomplete grade, you may be receiving an email from one of our academic advisors, whether it be Stephanie, who handles our doctoral students, or Eric, who works with our master's and ed specialist students. That will probably, if you don't hear from us by like St. Patrick's Day, you're good. No news is good news. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. The application is open through Friday, so if you have not yet done that, please go ahead and be sure to take care of that. It's much easier for us to cancel your application, delete your application for graduation, than it is for us to then add it back in, simply because there's lots of other things that happen with that application. That's how your expected graduation date gets entered in to MyZoo, which I know can affect things like financial aid, registration, all of those important money items. It can also affect loan deferment. And one important thing, it affects whether or not your name gets in the bulletin at commencement. So that's always a nice thing, to flip through the pages and be able to see your name and not see that it's missing. As far as things that you need to take care of after you've applied for graduation, you want to make sure that for master students that you have your plan of study on file. If you are doing a thesis, which is pretty rare for our students in the College of Education, master students, but if you are doing a thesis, make sure you have your M2 on file. For our doctoral students, be sure that you also have a plan of study on file and that you've taken your comps. It's important that there's a 7-month period of time that elapses between the comprehensive exam and the dissertation defense. If you get in a situation where you're not going to have that, give us a call. We'll walk you through the process. It doesn't mean that you can't graduate. There's just a couple extra steps involved. It is important that both master's and doctoral students are enrolled the semester that they graduate. I should actually say the semester you defend. So for doctoral students, in the spring and fall, you need to be enrolled in the 2 hours of continuous enrollment, the semester you defend, one in the summer. For master's students, whenever you defend your project or your thesis or do your portfolio or your comprehensive exams, whatever that date is on your M3 form, which is the final form that we get, do be sure that you're enrolled that term. That being said, all of these defenses, final exams, things like that, do need to happen while school's in session. So if you have a situation where you can't schedule your committee and it has to be over break, again, give us a call. We'll take you through the process. It just involves a couple extra pieces of paperwork between you and your advisor and a request to the dean. So, does anybody have any questions about the dissertation submission process for the doctoral students? I don't know if you guys...
Other than knowing nothing about it.
All of the guidelines are listed on our website. We've worked to kind of pare those down a little bit so that they're not as overwhelming. I think a lot of people probably open that up and are just completely blindsided. It's really not as scary as it looks. We've also partnered with a staff member in IT that does a seminar. You may want to keep your eyes open. It's linked on our website. I think that there's a session offered in March and one offered in April that she gives regarding formatting. And they also have open office hours, which are great on Fridays. They have lab hours if you have any technical issues. As far as what we get when you come in and drop your work off, or if you send it in, because we have a lot of students, of course, that are at a distance, we're going to receive some pieces of paperwork and a disc. So we're going to need the original approval page, the release form, which is signed by both you and your advisor. So you'll want to be sure to take that with your defense. We will get a publishing agreement, which is something through ProQuest, which a lot of you may have used when you're doing your research. It's a very large depository for theses and dissertations based out of Ann Arbor, Michigan. And that will include some cataloging information that we need. You will also submit a completion form for the survey of earned doctorates, which is something that has been around for, I think, almost 100 years now. Collects lots of data on all doctoral graduates all over the country. So that's also an important piece to bring along with you. And then your disc. We're happy to sit down with you and actually go over all of the documents with you and check through your disc. We have some students that are nervous and just want to drop and run, and that's fine as long as we have some good contact information for you. We'll review it and get back with you just as soon as possible. Students are given ample time to make any corrections. I know that that's often a concern. The dissertation itself is due on, or thesis for master's students, is due on the 10th of May. If you come in on the 10th and we find a few errors that need to be corrected, page numbers that need to be updated, what have you, you don't have to rush around to get it back to us by 5 o'clock that day. We usually allow about a week to make any corrections that are necessary. So that's nothing that you should panic over. We get a lot of calls to the office about students that may not be able to make deadlines, whether it be to turn in the M3 and D4, which is on May 3rd, or the thesis or dissertation, again on the 10th. Those deadlines are based upon registrar's office deadlines that we have to adhere to for processing time and things like that. That being said, if you turn something in after that deadline, we do our best to get everything processed. We've not run into a situation where we haven't been able to get someone graduated for a specific semester if they turn it in between the deadline and the end of the semester. So we just kind of put that out there as a disclaimer, so if we get completely bombarded by people that miss the deadline, that there may be delays. Once the semester has ended, grades usually post a couple days later. We do go through and do final file evaluations. We have 10 business days to get our final graduation list to the registrar's office and get everyone coded for the degrees to be posted. So your degree will be posted, it's usually about 2 weeks after the semester ends, full calendar weeks. The diploma itself takes a little while longer. The registrar's office asks that we tell students to allow 10 to 12 weeks. We've seen them as early as 2 weeks. So you want to make sure that your address in MyZoo, your permanent address, is correct. As soon as you know that it's changing or anything like that, go ahead and change it in MyZoo. Because that is where your diploma will be sent, and we don't want anybody to get lost in the mail. So do be sure that you change that at the end of the semester if necessary, because it may take the full 10 weeks or it may be there before you know it. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. A couple things about the diploma. the name listed on the diploma is the name that is listed in MyZoo under your, if you go into your student center, you should have a primary name listed, and that's what will print on the diploma. So if you need to get that changed, come by our office and we can help you with that. So you'll want to have the documentation that has your new name on it or what it should be changed to, and we can help you with that if you find that something's different in MyZoo. Go ahead.
So can you leave off your middle name if you want?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So just come talk to you?
Yeah, you can have, yeah. We can have it taken.
Do you have any proof if you just want to change
No.
the middle name?
No, if you want to have it, if it's in there, say it's just a middle initial, we would need proof of the full name if you want the full name added in there. But if you want something taken out, we would just need you to sign the form requesting that it be taken out. Okay. So, yeah, that's definitely a possibility. No, it's not online. It is something that we have in our office and that we can email to students, but it's not. I believe it's going to be on the new website, which is coming in the next couple weeks. So it will be out there soon, but it's not currently on our website.
So what should an online student do if they have concerns regarding the commencement process?
They're welcome to call our office. Just about everything can be handled online, which is really nice. Things like registration forms now can be done online or via fax, scan, send, things like that. We do have a version of the form that we can email, and students can just scan in their documentation if they have a name change or, you know, their driver's license and things like that. They can scan and send to us. So, let's see. As far as commencement itself is concerned, we have the RSVP for commencement. It's on Saturday, the 18th. We get a lot of calls. We invite all graduate students to our ceremony. Some of the individual colleges do have ceremonies. Most don't recognize the graduate students at their ceremony. So we get a lot of calls with confusion about which ceremony students should attend. Like I said, we invite all graduate students, regardless of what department you're in, to attend our ceremony. We have the RSVP online. If you happen to be a student that is actually going to be wrapping things up over the summer, we don't have a summer ceremony, but provided certain requirements are met, we're happy to have you at the May ceremony. For doctoral students, that means that you have to have successfully defended on or before 5 p.m. the last day of the semester. And we need to have proof of that, whether it be a rushed run over to our office to drop it off, a scan, you know, just something showing that you have done that. For master's students, you need to have your M1 on file. So, and then, you know, just have those classes, those last classes to wrap up. One thing that I should have mentioned back with the transcripts and the diploma, we do offer completion letters for students. I know a lot of people have jobs waiting for them, or they have pay raises waiting for them. We can provide completion letters to students that have actually completed everything. So, did you have a question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, finish your statement and then I'll...
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
So you mentioned just now about if you don't graduate or you don't finish, you don't find in time to graduate properly for the spring semester, do you then re-register for the summer semester?
Yes, you will have to reapply.
Okay.
Yes, you will need to reapply. And that will also, if you call our office and let us know that you're not going to be able to graduate, if you've applied and you need to delete that application or cancel that application, call us and let us know. That way we'll change your expected graduation date, which will then allow you to register for future terms, be term activated, and will avoid any of those like financial aid issues that I had said. Sometimes people will start getting letters saying, oh, you're graduating, you need to do these 15 things to, you know, to start paying loans back. So yes, you will have to reapply so we don't just roll them over. And we have, go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
So if we are finishing up courses over the summer, then is our expected graduation date July 2013 with commencement being May? So we apply for graduation in July, not
Yeah, if you do wish to participate in the ceremony, I usually advise students to go ahead and apply for graduation in May, RSVP to the ceremony in May, and then just give us a call to follow up and let us know that you're actually going to be completing in the summer, but you're just participating in the ceremony. And we can put a little note in our database, so that way your information will still be in the bulletin, and we won't start pestering you with evaluations, because we'll know that you're really not quite finishing up. Back to the completion letters. If you've finished everything, feel free to either send one of the advisors an email, or you can contact me directly, or give our office a call. We're happy to provide completion letters for students that need them, whether it be for immigration purposes or raises, or just because you want to put it on your refrigerator, which we've gotten before. We're happy to do that. Typically, universities are very understanding. They also have their process. They know when they hire a recent graduate that there is going to be a short period of time for the processing. So we're happy to provide that. We can put a graduate school seal on it, and all that stuff. So we've run into very, very few issues where it's been a problem that an institution hasn't accepted that. I know for a lot of our master's students that do finish up in the summer, pay raises are often an issue. With the start of the new school year, oftentimes there's a very, very small window of when they need to get that information in, and when the degrees are posted and things like that. So again, that's not a problem. So whatever we can do to help, we're happy to do it. Just a little bit of additional information as far as the commencement ceremony is concerned. It does take place on a Saturday evening. We try to keep it, we've made a few changes to try to speed things up. We know that people don't like to just sit there and the regalia is hot and, all that good stuff. So the ceremonies usually last about 2 hours. Doctoral students are hooded on the floor. Master's students, contrary to what some students think, they do get to walk across the stage and have their name called, and their department is also called. Unfortunately, we get a lot of students that think that we've done away with that, and so that's not the case. So, whether it be reading education or special education, things like that, that is also announced with your name. And really, it's sort of a simple process. I know it's a little bit overwhelming when you take everything as a whole. We're always available to answer questions. We get a little bit of everything. So if you think you have an odd situation, more than likely there's been 3 other students that have called about that same thing that day. So don't be afraid to ask us anything. We're happy to help. So do you all have any questions about graduation and commencement? Yeah.
If we're not able to make it to commencement, is there anything that needs to be done, or any sort of paperwork we're going to miss out on? Or anything?
No. Basically, when you get your little, the registrar's office has actually started providing us with a folder instead of a vinyl diploma cover, and there's an insert from the Alumni Association and an insert about graduation photography, and then just a congratulatory letter. You're not going to miss out on getting your diploma. Also, if you're unable to attend commencement, the semester that you graduate, or if you're a summer graduate and you can't defend in time for spring, and of course there's no summer ceremony, you're welcome to come back in the fall. We even have some students that come back the next May or the next fall. So just give our office a call at the beginning of that semester that you plan to participate so we can collect some of your information so we can be sure to get you in the bulletin. If you realize in, say, late April that you want to participate in the May ceremony and you had graduated, you know, a couple semesters before, you're still welcome to participate. Just let us know. Your name might not be in the bulletin, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to get called. So we're still happy to have you. We just want to make sure that we have enough seats. So, yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
What about regalia? Is
That is
rented or bought?
that's available at the bookstore. Master students, they keep in stock always. Do be sure to make the rental, the reservations. They usually have it, they usually have plenty. So that's usually not a problem. Doctoral students, in the past, you had to rent your regalia and it would be shipped in from a specialized rental company. They now will have it available in the bookstore, just like the master's students. And something new that they're doing for the spring semester, and it's actually something that you can keep, and I believe it's, I think, $10 more than what the rental price was. So I think it's right around $75, and it's regalia that you can actually keep, as opposed to the often worn out cap and gown that you could get for $65 rental that had to be returned within a couple days. So, but the bookstore can handle that. If you're not in the Columbia area and you don't want to order online, because I do believe that they're going to be putting all of that online for the spring, you can, there's lots of regalia companies out there. We see students that they get them from just about everywhere. So even if you are a student that's maybe teaching at another institution, we have a lot of students that will get those from there. So, you know, the bookstore is great, but I know everybody can't be here, so if you need some assistance helping with colors or something like that, we're happy to help. So, do y'all have any other questions or anything? Yeah, go ahead.
If I have my regalia from the bachelor degree, can I use that as well?
Master students do have a hood, so that's an extra piece of regalia, and the gowns are slightly different. So the sleeves on them are different. So you would want to make sure that you got your hood, and you would want to be okay with your sleeves being a little bit different from other people. So we wouldn't tell you have to go change. So, okay. Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions about the process or the policies or the, you know, just the ceremony in general? Yeah?
Where's your office located?
210 Jesse Hall. Yep. We're open 8 to 5. We don't close for lunch, so there's always at least one academic advisor there that can answer. While we have the doctoral advisor and then the master's and ed specialist advisor. They're cross-trained, and I was an advisor for 6 years, so I can usually answer a few questions too. So, you know, there's always somebody that can help you. We get a lot of, and not just about this in general, but we get a lot of graduate students that have gone around in a big circle from various offices and things like that. If you ever find yourself caught in that, give us a call. We can usually help out. So, or we can at least find you the most direct line to getting that. At least we try to. So just let us know. Yeah. Yes?
What's your website again?
It's gradschool.missouri.edu. There's no www. Hopefully our new website will be out and available within the next few weeks. So kind of keeps getting pushed back a little bit. Yes, ma'am.
The cost on the, because we've had a few, we had actually 5 in our department actually graduate this past year.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about the costs that they put in for the dissertation on the ProQuest. And there was like 2 different costs that they could pick from.
There are a couple different options. We have just the regular processing fee, which for doctoral students is $65, for master's students is $55. And then there is what's called the open access publishing, which is $200, I think it's $215 now, somewhere right around there. And that basically means that by paying that additional fee, ProQuest will make your entire work accessible through their website. If you just go with a traditional, which is what most students do, it's covered by the $65 or the $55, and then provided you want to have your work released to the World Wide Web, the library's depository, MoSpace, can do that for no additional cost. So it would show up in Google Scholar searches and other academic databases, which is would save you some money. So we don't have a lot of students that do the open access. It is the most widely, it would make your work the most widely available, but there is, you know, some additional cost for that. So otherwise, just your public abstract would be available on the ProQuest website.
What are the online grad students, the master's students, what do they do in terms of commencement? Do they contact a graduate school, or who do they work toward?
They have, there's 2 different options. One, they have, Mizzou Online has an online commencement ceremony that they do, that they've started doing. Otherwise, they're welcome to come to ours. We love having the online students. Our marshal, our master's marshal, in December was actually an online student who had come to campus quite a few times and was happy to come back from, I believe he was from Ohio. So he made another trip back to participate in commencement. And a couple years ago, we had another marshal that was from Atlanta who had completed her Ed Specialist online. So they would go through the same process, filling out the online RSVP. If they need any assistance with, you know, where's a good place to fly in, help with maybe pointing them to nearby towns, if hotels get filled up, things like that, feel free to call us. So, yeah. You guys have any other questions? Yeah?
We have formatting issues of our dissertation.
Mm-hmm.
Is your office the right place to call also? Or?
Yeah, you can stop by our office if you have, while we do know a few more technical things, we're definitely not the experts. So if it's something that you're having, like software issues, things like that, we usually recommend that students go to the open lab. But if it's just a matter of you can't get your page numbers to be in the right place, or you have figures that need to be rotated, or things like that, we can definitely get you taken care of. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
So you were talking about for the online students, like hotel rooms and
Mm-hmm.
filling up.
Mm-hmm.
What about for families? Do you guys have any? Because they have jacked up the rates so high.
That's a really good question. We don't necessarily have any preferred hotels that we would refer students to. But
you don't have any kind of discount.
No, that's you've got me thinking now. That's because a very good, yeah, is crazy.
Yeah, if you don't have a room booked by now, you may not get one, and
Mm-hmm.
if you do, it's going to be like something crazy, like $500 just for the weekend.
And that's what we've had to refer students to, to Jeff City if they can't find a room. We've had students that will call and say, what are some nearby towns that may have some space available, especially when we have instances of Columbia College, Stevens, and Mizzou all falling in the same time. Let me see what we can do about that. That's no one has ever No one has ever brought that up. But
Well,
that's a very
it
good,
was something
yeah.
that I discovered trying to, schedule for spring graduation. I don't know if I mean, we're only a few of the graduate students obviously in the school. I don't know if all of grad students think about it, and I know a lot of people have family that come from out of the country
Oh, yeah.
for master's and doctoral degrees.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the hotels are pretty much.
No, that's a great thing. That's a great thing to bring up. Yeah. So thank you very much. That's, well, it's something to add to my list, yeah.
It might even be worthwhile, like, if students move out day is early enough for the semester to arrange like some kind of on-campus housing for grad students whose parents are coming particularly from overseas, just aren't going to have that kind of money to spend.
That's a very good, I'm going to have to write this down. You guys have any other questions or anything? Yeah.
Besides the fees for the processing of the dissertation,
Sure.
ProQuest, and the regalia, is there any other extra costs that we have?
No. There is an optional copyright with the dissertation and thesis. Again, we don't have a lot of students that do that. It is for and it's 55. So students can go through, have ProQuest file all the paperwork on their behalf, or you can go to copyright.gov and you can do it yourself. It's a pretty easy process. If you do choose to do it yourself, and I think the cost is very similar, like it may be within $10. So, but no, there's no graduation fee or anything like that. So.
Are there any limits to the number of guests?
No. Well, we're in the Hearn Center, so you're welcome to bring as many friends and family as you would like. So we like to fill it up as much as we can. So, okay.
So do you know where on the website it has the fees for the publication? Is that on the publishing agreement form itself, or?
It's actually, if you go to the thesis and dissertation guidelines, there is a processing fee statement. It would be with the supplemental paper materials. I think it's in section 3. And it will have everything kind of itemized there. And the more nitty-gritty details are within the publishing agreement.
Because it says there's the release form and then the publishing agreement, but it doesn't say anything about fees, so you're saying it would be in the publishing agreement.
Yeah. Yep. Well, if you guys don't have anything else, I guess I'll scoot on out. So, like I said, feel free to stop by our office, call our office, email us. Yeah.
Okay, so one more question.
Sure.
The form that's out there is from 2010 to 2011, and for example, it has the open access fees as $150 for a master's and $160 for a dissertation.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was including the copyright. That's the most. Would be around $215. So
the fact that this says 2010, 2011 doesn't mean
they haven't updated it since then. So that's
the price is higher.
Right.